Hi and welcome back to the channel. So I'm going to do a 2-year review, well just under 2 years. I've had this car since June 2023. It is now obviously April 2025, so just under 2 years, and in that time I've done 12,000 miles in this car. I'll talk about kind of the performance of obviously the Range Rover SVR, but also the classic Range Rover luxury that you get with the Sport. I've got quite a bit to say about it, and obviously I'm going to break it down for you into like fuel economy, obviously the engine being the main elephant in the room, the power that comes with that, the comfort overall, and the practicality, with some quirks as well, and basically what the total cost is of keeping this on the road. Obviously I've had this for 2 years, so the costs are substantial, and I'll wrap up whether I think it's actually worth getting this car or whether you should just go for something else entirely. Spoiler alert, it's been a wild ride, and obviously I absolutely love this car. Let's dive in. So let's start with the elephant in the room, and that is the fuel economy. So it's a supercharged V8 and it is 575 horsepower. It is not an economical engine, let's be honest. It's not supposed to be, and it isn't. However, you won't get Prius numbers, but you do get a decent return on your miles per gallon. I'm averaging around 17 miles per gallon since the 2 years I've had this, which is actually not bad considering this car is what, 2.5 ton or close to, and it is that 5 litre supercharged supercharged V8, and obviously I think 17 for that is pretty good. Now if you were to do a solid kind of run in the car, you know, we're talking like, I don't know, 60-50 mile range, or maybe even 100, whatever it is, you're probably talking 20 to 24 miles per gallon sitting at 70 mile an hour on the motorway. It's when you're driving through town and you have that lead foot, that's when it really starts to eat away at your mileage. For example, I've been doing like kind of some spirited driving recently, and I'll get as low as 9, maybe 10 miles per gallon, which obviously isn't ideal, but it is a 100 litre tank, so you can obviously avoid the fuel stops as much as possible. Overall though, I do feel like you do feel every fill up, like because you're doing super unleaded, which obviously in the UK it's around about £1.50 per litre, and 100 litres of that, do the math, 150 quid every fill up, and with that you're getting around 300 miles of range as well. Every time you get in, you know, you can only start the car and then go open the gates to my house, and I get back in and there's 2 miles gone. It's only really good on a long cruise, so that's when you're starting to get that decent miles per gallon. So obviously I'll go more on costs later, but yeah, fuel is a big part of the SVR experience. However, that said, if you get a diesel Range Rover, you're probably only looking low 30s anyway, so 80 miles per gallon, it's not that bad in the grand scheme of things. It is a big cost, but it's not the end of the world. So let's talk about the main point of this car. Which is of course that V8 sound. It's the whole point of buying one of these cars, otherwise you would just go for a normal diesel Range Rover. You get that lovely sound, and my phone is melting from the heat in the UK. So you will get the pops and bangs as well if you kind of hover around 3,000 to 4,000 revs and let off the throttle. The overrun, you'll get them. It can get a bit annoying at times when you're not especially expecting them, but it does sound nice when you really want them to shine. So the 5 litre supercharged V8, it sounds like nothing I've ever driven before. It's raw, it's loud, it's obnoxious, it's everything you kind of expect, but it's weird because obviously being in this Range Rover Sport, it should be, you know, like I said, it should waft along the road, it should just be civil and comfy and luxury, and the SVR does all of that, but it has that like obnoxious side to it, which is special. I find that you're not going to have that in cars that much more anymore going forward, obviously with the electric and hybrids and all this kind of thing. So it is really raw, and it's that last, I don't know, real petrol experience. I went for the sensor resonator delete upgrade and the exhaust, so I absolutely recommend that you go and do that. It isn't that cheap, it's about, you know, 1,000 quid maybe. You can get cheaper ones, but it's definitely worth doing because it just kind of unlocks what the SVR should have been from day one. Obviously without the kind of EU regulations that were put upon it, it really shines when that's deleted. One thing I would say is once you get that exhaust mod, it really kind of turns the volume up to a level. The crackle, the pops, and the deep growl, it honestly turns heads every time. One quirk that you have to get used to though is every time you get in the car you have to turn the exhaust button on. You also have to turn stop start off. I turn it off immediately because what's the point of an SVR when it's shutting down every 5 seconds at traffic lights or any standstill traffic. I also think it's not great for an engine to just keep stop starting all the time. Mechanics can argue that in the comments, but for me I just don't feel like it's appropriate. Now speaking of the roaring engine, obviously the performance as well is incredible. The thing pumps out 575 horsepower, which is, for a car this big, you know, that's proper like sports car territory. It feels very, very fast, especially given its weight and its size. You'll get, you know, 0 to 60 in just over 4 seconds, and yet the top speed is 176 miles an hour. You would think that, obviously, given the sheer size, it would slow down after 60, but it's actually quite the opposite. It kind of wants to keep on pulling. You go to the Autobahn and you can see yourself pulling from 70 to well over 100 miles an hour like that. So let's do a 0 to 60 run time and see what we can hit. In dynamic mode, the suspension tightens up and it barely rolls in any corner. For a 2.5 ton SUV, that's actually pretty good. Like, the engineering aspect of that is incredible. I do think the engineers have done that really, really well. To get no roll out of this size of car, and obviously what it's doing is amazing. I'm on Michelin Pro Pilot Sports and they do grip. They are pricey. You're talking about £350 per tyre, which is expensive. However, talking about the suspension, that said, on UK roads, I go into the custom settings of dynamic and I keep it in comfort mode. The reason is, although yeah, you get a flat kind of cornering ability, over them potholes, which the UK is absolutely rife with, it kind of crashes and it can skip over the bumps when you go around corners. And I just don't feel like for UK roads, the hard suspension kind of works. I do think the comfort is already hard enough. Now let's go on to the comfort, because obviously it is still a Range Rover Sport and it's not supposed to be all about speed. So the comfort is a huge deal. The seats, phenomenal, because you get the comfort, but you also get the support of obviously having a bucket seat. They look incredible. They're adjustable and obviously electronic as well. On long drives you will find yourself very, very comfortable, but obviously on short spirited drives as well, they'll hug you and they'll keep you secure. They're heated and ventilated, and on a day like today, ventilation, it's great. Honestly, although I wouldn't tend to use them as much as maybe heated seats, which I will say, the heated seats do not get as hot because they are obviously air driven and not heating element driven. So if you're getting like a BMW or something that's not got ventilated seats, the heat out of the seats is obviously a lot better. It's just a bit of a trade-off you pay for ventilated seats. So whether I'm blasting through corners or I'm stuck in traffic, literally these have my back. Now the 23-inch wheels on this SVR are quite crashy. If you're just kind of floating down the road, it'll waft, it'll just absorb all these nice bumps in comfort. It won't do it in dynamic, you will feel even the smallest bumps. However, in comfort, it's plush, it's nice, and it's comfortable. You still get that crashing though over big potholes, which unfortunately the UK is absolutely full of, and there's just no getting away with that. However, it's whisper quiet in here. I mean, apart from the V8, but if you're just kind of cruising, you know, nicely, 30 mile an hour, whatever it is, just chilling, you don't hear any noise at all. There's no wind noise, there's no road noise, and even though they are massive wheels, that's quite a surprise. Obviously, speaking of the 23-inch wheels on the SVR, I think you can get 22s, or obviously you could go bigger, but I think there's the crashing. I do think the aesthetics kind of is the trade-off of, obviously, if you wanted something that was supremely comfort, you'd go for smaller wheels. It's just a trade-off that you'd get with any car entirely. In terms of the car, obviously you get great visibility, it's super comfortable, and the adaptive cruise control, especially on like you know, motorway journeys, it just makes it so easy. It kind of has the distance control. It's much better system than I've had in other cars, managing that distance as well, and it kind of picks up with the SVR. It picks up the engine pretty quick if the gap kind of, you know, gets a bigger gap ahead. You could easily do 300 miles in a full tank, and I have done. I've been up to, you know, the top end of the UK on one single trip, and I step out and I feel just like I've just got in the car from scratch, really. It's really comfortable, and you do notice that, yeah, this is still a Range Rover no matter what. Now obviously, in terms of practicality, it is still a Range Rover, as I've been saying. So it's big enough for your entire family. So if you're considering this for a family car, you'll have no problem. I've had, you know, DIY projects put in here, I've had camping trips, I've had the full family doing airport runs, no problem at all. It's still a Range Rover, it does all the practicality you would expect. There is no trade-off in that regard. The rear seats themselves, they're spacious, and they've got that elevated driving position that makes you feel like the king of the road. Obviously, being sitting up high gives you that kind of regal Range Rover feel that you kind of expect. Being the SVR, it turns heads just that little bit more and makes it feel that little bit more special. So if you're considering the SVR, I would say it's not just a toy for enthusiasts, it can be a proper all-rounder. It's not as, you know, cavernous as the big full-size fat Range Rover, as I call it, but still, for most people, this is more than enough in terms of space. It's still a massive car. But let's talk options. The 360-degree camera, if you're considering that, skip it. I actually searched long and hard to find the Range Rover SVR that had the 360-degree camera. I just don't think it's worth it. I've barely ever use them, and the reason I barely use them is just simply because they're just not that great. The quality is quite small, like the actual camera, it's pixelated. It's just not worth the option at all. The only one I find myself using is the front camera for front parking and rear camera obviously for reverse parking. Otherwise, I would just drop the 360 camera. I don't think it's a worthwhile upgrade. Maybe you would, but I just think the quality itself is pretty poor. However, I do have a panoramic roof. It is fixed, which is a little bit annoying because I think if you could open it, you could hear the V8 just a little bit more. And obviously, I'll play the V8 noise again. I say play because that never gets old, and I will say that. But if you had the panoramic roof, you just hear that just that little bit louder. Now, in terms of the leather, I obviously have the red leather, which is not to everyone's taste, I understand. I did like the white leather, but I just feel, you know, these are older cars now, and I feel like the white might not hold up as much as this red has. This red, it looks like brand new from day one. It's really held the time, there's no fade. It's, honestly, it's great. Doesn't really wear that hard either, like it's just, it looks still new. Given I've only done a low amount of mileage on this car though. If you were to get the black, obviously the black interior, it is a bit boring, but I think that's another safe option. So I would do red or black. I would probably avoid that white interior. I just feel like you would get some stains. So if you're in the market looking for one, just be warned that obviously the white one would show stains, but this red, go ahead and get it. Paired with the black exterior, I feel like black and red just look great. I think they just kind of the contrast between the two. So I actually forgot to talk a little bit more about some of the options, so I'll just do that now. So the Meridian sound system that comes with the SVR as standard is the mid-range one. There is the improved one, which for the life of me I can't remember, but I think it's over 18 speakers, or maybe it is 18 speakers. This one's just got the mid-bass one, which is the standard one, and I think it's actually pretty good. Now, it's not the best sound system that I've ever had. I actually think the Tesla sound system is the only one I can compare at the minute. The Tesla sound system is better than the base level Meridian that you get in this car. However, this car is pretty damn good anyway. I think the Tesla's outstanding for like just a standard, you know, run of the mill. I usually buy upgraded sound systems aftermarket, I always do, but I haven't felt the need for this one, and I definitely didn't feel the need for the Tesla. So I don't think you have to search long and hard to find one that has the upgraded sound system. I think the Meridian sound system, if you do like your music, is good enough. You could always aftermarket if you really wanted to. I wouldn't let that stop you from buying a car based on that. I think this base one is good. However, if you're just in the range, if you're just trying to get a Range Rover in general, the base standard Range Rover, Land Rover branded speakers are probably the worst speakers I've ever had in my entire life. I had them on a previous Range Rover, and I had to instantly go and spend like 3k on an aftermarket sound system. So yeah, the Meridian one's good. The standard Land Rover one for a normal Range Rover is dog shit, don't get it. But Meridian base level good, and then obviously the higher one is obviously superb as well. I would say this base level Meridian, for anyone who's into the BMs and they have the Harman Kardon system, this is better than the Harman Kardon system. Like I say, I just don't think it's as good as the Tesla. If you've been in a Tesla and listened to the premium audio that the Teslas have, you'll know what I'm talking about. But yeah, otherwise it's a good sound system. The other options that are on this car is the heads-up display, which is very, very good, and actually it'll probably be something I'll always spec on another car. It isn't make or break, obviously, because you're just looking from there to there. It's not that much different, but it is, again, it's a decent option, and I would probably get that again. This car has soft closed doors as well. I don't know what packs these come in, because it has the fridge as well, whether it was all combined in one with the 360-degree camera, I have no idea. But again, the soft closed doors I've probably used twice, and it's by accident, and I guess that's what they're for. But don't go searching for them. It's not like you can slam the door shut and, you know, it actually soft close. It's just genuinely, you almost have to just let the car, it's like, don't shut it properly and then it'll close, but no one ever does that, so I don't think that's a worthwhile option. The fridge, however, I use all the time. Keep bottles of water in there. It's a decent size, and I'd actually recommend that you do go ahead and get that. But again, if it's part of another pack, then yeah, great, but it's not make or break. These are nice to have. Same with the panoramic sunroof. So they come in 3 stages. You can have no roof at all, which I wouldn't get, to be perfectly honest. If I was buying this car again, I would definitely get the openable, if that's a word, pan roof. And the reason being is because I think opening it just lets that sound in, especially because these windows are quite big. You get a lot of like wind buffeting when you have the windows down, so you tend to not be able to drop them to listen to the exhaust, because you get so much wind noise. So if this opened, it'd be quite nice to just listen to the exhaust. Plus it just makes it a bit more nice. But if you're struggling to find one, the fixed pan roof is good enough, and obviously it has the automated blind control as well. And that's pretty much it. I would go for options. So my absolute must-haves for this car, for me, is just get some form of panoramic roof and just brighten the interior up a bit. And I actually think it will help you come for resale. There is obviously the full carbon kit. Again, I think if you're getting a black car like I have, you don't need it, because what's the point, because you're not going to be able to see it. But if you're getting like a coloured, like a blue or a grey, then yeah, the carbon kit would just make it that little bit nicer. And if I was getting a different colour, I would definitely get the carbon kit. But if you are getting black on the exterior, it's not worth it, I don't think, because I don't think you'll see it too much. Now let's talk about the big one, cost. So owning the SVR isn't cheap. So my monthly breakdown looks like this: £950 for the finance, £50 UK road tax, £275 insurance, and around about £300 a month on fuel. That's quite expensive. You're talking £1,500 a month just to run this car, which is quite a substantial bit of money, let's not lie. Now the fuel figure is obviously based on my 17 miles per gallon average, and I do roughly 500 to 600 miles a month in this car. Now obviously £1.50 per litre, it is expensive. Maintenance hasn't hit me yet, fingers crossed. There's been no issues in terms of reliability. However, with that said, I did have an O2 sensor fail in the exhaust when I picked up the car, but obviously it was still covered under warranty. I've not had any other issues yet, which has been great. However, I am a bit concerned that obviously as time goes on, then maintenance issues might start to bite me. In terms of servicing, my last service cost me £1,200, which is pretty expensive. That was at a main dealer. However, this is the big one. This is the big service that I am really dreading. £2,000 for the big major service, and on top of that I need front discs and front pads and new tyres. I'm probably looking around a £5,000 expense bill coming up next month. So is it worth it? Short answer, yes, absolutely. If you're a car enthusiast, get this car, you will love it, especially if you're taking this car, you know, on weekend drives and you're just going out by yourself and enjoying it, and then midweek you're doing your commutes and your family runs. Get the car, you won't be disappointed. However, if you're not a car enthusiast, or you're not too bothered about kind of the driving feel or the driving experience, would I recommend it? No, and this is the reason. I feel like you could save some money and get yourself the 5-litre V8 Range Rover. You don't need the SVR mode, well, model rather, and therefore it's probably not worth buying if you're not that inclined to driving spiritedly. So it really does depend what you're after, whether you want that full fat Range Rover SVR, or you want the, you know, just the engine itself and yet the kind of comfier setup. it is something to consider. Myself, the reason I went for the SVR is simply because I just wanted the SVR. I felt like I wanted the driving experience of it, but also I was really concerned that me being me, is that I would constantly regret not getting the SVR. Just went past the M4 there. It feels a lot faster than what it is. Obviously I've got the Tesla and it's got the boost and it is quicker, but I do feel like this feels more violent in overall. So that's my 2 years with the SVR. My overall verdict, well, it's as everything a Range Rover should be, but it's also batshit crazy, as it should be as well as being an SVR. The sound, the power, the comfort, very addictive car. It does drink fuel, but that's kind of a given, and the costs do add up, and that is the only thing. But every drive feels special, and that's my thing. If every drive feels special, it's a great daily car, but you do start thinking this is costing me a lot in repairs, maintenance, and all the other things that'll probably add up in time. If you want a family SUV that doubles as a supercar, this is it. Don't look anywhere else, get this car. Would I do it again? Absolutely. However, I am thinking of getting rid of this car, and in another video I'll explore some other options of what I'll be going for. But this car might be going at the end of 2 years. It's been a great 2 years, and I'll discuss where kind of my future ambitions are with the next car that I'm going to get. So it's a good one. So thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you on the next one.